So why did I get rid of the Jeep Gladiator? I've been getting questions on the channel a lot about that lately, and I'm going to get into it in a minute. But first, I wanted to talk about something weird that happened with my wife's Jeep Wrangler, and this relates to the Gladiator as well. A little while back, I made a video about eliminating the auxiliary battery. You know, that auto stop auxiliary battery, and I'm sure it does other things. But it doesn't last very long, and then it starts to cause problems. Check engine lights, things don't work. I mean, all kinds of little annoying things. We started to have that problem with my wife's auxiliary battery. And if you didn't know, it's buried below the fuse panel underneath the hood. You can access it either by removing the fuse block, who the hell wants to do that, or removing the inner fender under the tire on the passenger side or behind the tire, and then removing a tray and pulling it down. It's very cumbersome to replace. Jeep really, in my opinion, screwed up when they did it that way, particularly since it is a battery. It is going to have to be replaced, and they've really made it so the only way you could have it done would be to take it into the shop, unless you have a little bit of mechanical skill. And maybe that's why they did it. They're trying to drum up business for their service department. I don't know. So anyway, I came across, I thought, a method to eliminate it from the system by simply disconnecting a fuse. It's fuse number 42, I believe. You just pull the fuse. And removing the negative line, or the negative wire rather, from the battery. That's it, because it has its own separate negative cable. So I did that, and everything was golden. I will admit, when I first started the truck, or the Jeep, after doing that, I did have an error message, but I turned it off, turned it back on, and everything was fine. It's like it kind of had to realize or reset. No big deal. And haven't had any issues as far as gauge lights or anything like that coming on since I've done it. But the other day, oh, and let me add one more thing. I did have to replace the main battery because it was over 6 years old and it was starting to fail. So I put a new battery in the Jeep Wrangler. Now, a couple days after that, I started hers up, was going to take it for a ride, you know, get it circulating and everything. And I'll be damned if the auto stop didn't come on. And I'm like, how is this possible? I eliminated, I thought, the auto stop function by taking the auxiliary battery out of the system. Now, I have a theory, and I'm not sure if it's right or not, but it seems to be, and that is that the auto stop system doesn't necessarily need the auxiliary battery to function. It's still gonna function even if you remove or take the auxiliary battery out of the system, which is what I did. So now it's operating solely on the main battery. And maybe it's always done that. I'm not real clear as to how it functions, to be honest. But maybe it's always done that, and that auxiliary battery was to kind of keep other things functioning while the Jeep shut off. In other words, the air conditioning, maybe if you had it lower, or heat, or maybe lighting, stuff like that, maybe the radio. I'm not exactly sure. I will say that when I removed it and it seemed to be working fine, none of those other features quit working. In other words, the radio didn't turn off, or the lights didn't shut down, the air didn't go off. None of that happened. So it's not like you need the auxiliary battery for the other functions to work. My concern is that you might need a more robust main battery, and I have seen people doing that, because without the auxiliary battery in the mix, giving it an extra oomph, it's going to pull everything from the main battery. We shall see. It's going to kind of be an experiment for me. I'm going to have to watch the voltage on that new battery and see if it suffers at all. I don't know. So I just wanted to get on, kind of give an update on that. The system is still functioning fine. I don't have the auxiliary battery in the system, and I don't have any check engine lights or anything wacky like that. Now, how does that relate to the Gladiator? Real quick, I would have done the same thing with the Jeep Gladiator when its auxiliary battery failed. It's the same setup, the same system. So we shall see. To be continued, I guess. many, many months from now, probably. Now, let's get on to why did I get rid of the Jeep Gladiator? You know, I've talked about this before, but it keeps coming up on the channel. There's nothing wrong with the Jeep Gladiator. I loved the Jeep Gladiator, and I wouldn't hesitate to buy one again, maybe down the road. But I love the two-door Jeep Wrangler a little bit more. And honestly, my mother got a two-door Wrangler. She really liked it. She also bought an older TJ to kind of have restored and stuff. So I saw that all the time. It was on my mind that, you know, I should get one. So that's what I did. I traded off the Jeep Wrangler. I got good money out of it. It was not the Jeep Wrangler, the Jeep Gladiator. And it was a Mojave, by the way. It held its value really well. And that still kind of is mystifying to me as to why the Jeep holds its value so well. I just don't understand it. You know, Jeep, and we all know this, gets a bad rap when it comes to problems and reliability and all that good stuff. So if all of that is really true, why would Jeep hold its value? It must just be because it, in my opinion, is really the only true, to its core, off-road vehicle out there, especially the two-door Wrangler. I mean, you can take it anywhere with its four-wheel drive system and size, and even the Gladiator. There really are the only real rugged off-road to the core vehicles out there, and that must be what it is. They're in such demand for that reason that it translates into dollars and holds the value really well, because I think Jeep is still the Wrangler and maybe even the Gladiator, the Wrangler for sure, the top one or two vehicles when it comes to holding value when you trade them in, for resale, in other words. So that's really it. I didn't get rid of the Gladiator because I was afraid of reliability problems or the upcoming, I knew, auxiliary battery problem. I mean, I helped change one once before with a buddy of mine, Randall, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Cumbersome for sure, but not something that you can't do yourself. So I wasn't really afraid of that. Otherwise, I didn't really have any issues with the Gladiator. Well, I'll take that back. There was one issue, and that was it would run a little bit rough. It would kind of vibrate. Like when you're sitting still, it would kind of shake a little bit. When I put fuel injector cleaner in it, it'd clear it up for 2 or 3 months, but then it would come back. I think the reason for that is the jets that they use, the injectors, are just too narrow and they clog up, and you have to keep them clean. So if you're having that trouble with your Jeep Gladiator, run a bottle of that fuel injector cleaner through every couple, 3 months or so. A hassle, I know, and surely an expense, although it's not that much, 11 to 15 bucks, something like that, and it should clear up the problem. Anyway, just wanted to get on, address that, answer that question that seems to be predominant. This keeps popping up. Leave a comment, let me know. How are you liking your Jeep Gladiator, if you still have one, or are you considering getting rid of it for maybe a Jeep Wrangler? I'd just be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.